Welcome to another episode of Jamming with Jason. Hey, today we are going to talk about washing your hands, these little things, right? And bear with me because I'm not your mother. I'm not here to tell you to go wash your hands and clean behind your ears. But we're going to get in and talk about how you can actually use little things like washing your hands to help you integrate and clean yourself emotionally so things don't get stuck in your body and so you can be healthier and happier along the way. So, with that, let's get started. Now, washing your hands. Okay, that again, it seems like why this is kind of a weird thing to be talking about on a podcast, Jason. But let me kind of explain and give you some context on this, okay? Is whether these are things that are emotional, spiritual in nature, psychologically in nature, what ends up happening is we have different experiences, and those experiences kind of leave an energetic mark on us. And so, what does that mean? Well, as an example, let's say that you're at work, you have a meeting with someone else, from a work perspective, and things just kind of go weird in that meeting, and they're saying and doing some things, and you walk out of that meeting and you just kind of feel icky. You feel dirty. Maybe you feel like they were shaming you. Okay. And those are all things that, from an energetic standpoint, can affect you. And so we're going to talk about ways to not let that affect you and to be able to move through that as quick as possible. Okay. Because any negative emotion that you feel, any things like that that are going on, if you do not integrate those things, then they can create distortions. They can lead to things like depression, feeling ashamed, other kind of negative or lower vibration emotions. And so we want to talk about how to get past that. Okay. Because I'm sure you don't want to feel depressed. You don't want to feel burned out. You don't want to feel ashamed. And you want to have a better life than that. And so this is one of the ways that we can do this. Now, the word integration often is talked about kind of from a spiritual standpoint. So let's say, again, you have some sort of a reality shattering experience in your life that changes some of the belief structures that you have. Now, there's different integration work that you want to do to be able to integrate those new things into your life. Because if you don't, what ends up happening is there's a thing in psychology called cognizant dissonance, which is where you're trying to hold two competing beliefs or views at the same time. And when you try to hold two different beliefs at the same time, it causes you to kind of go crazy a little bit, and your brain is just firing off and doing weird things. Okay. And so, what this is doing is trying to help you integrate some of those things. And, you may have heard that term before, you may not have, I don't know. But I want to talk about that today and show how some little practices, little physical practices, and things that you might do can actually help to release and integrate maybe some emotions, some spiritual issues that you're dealing with, and help you kind of move on with your life sooner than later. Okay. So, and again, this is one of those episodes where there's no notes. I just hit record. So here we go. It's like you're sitting here listening to me live, which in a way you are. It's just been previously recorded. So here we go. So, so let's talk about this kind of in a real life example. And again, this could be maybe interactions that you're having with people at work. They could be interactions that you're having. in your personal life as well. And so we're just going to kind of, use this example of you're interacting with somebody, and I'll kind of give you somewhat of a real life example with some of the details missing, so you protect the guilty, sort of a thing. So I was actually visiting some family recently, and there's a person in my family who, for some reason, he wants to make me kind of feel ashamed and guilty for things that I did over 50 years ago. Okay, now I've moved on past that, but we're going to use this kind of as an example to kind of show how you can integrate some of those different things. Okay, and so in this example, had several different interactions with this person, and he liked to remind me of some things that I did when I was a toddler. One of the things I did was I bit him. Okay. Well, sometimes toddlers bite people. Okay. I don't know why. I mean, again, that was before my adult consciousness can remember. So I don't know why I did it. Okay. Now, again, what he was trying to do was make me feel guilty for doing that thing over 50 years ago. Okay. And so at that point in the discussion, I could have bought into what he was saying. And we'll just pretend that I did. Okay. I didn't, but we'll pretend that I did. And so maybe as part of that discussion, I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I did that. I'm such a bad person. And I start telling myself things like that. I start believing what that other person is saying. Now, when I do that, I'm going to emotionally feel a little different, right? My vibration is going to go down. I might feel ashamed, which is a very low frequency emotion. Um, I might feel sorrow, right? Because again, when we say I am sorry, we are usually getting into the emotion of sorrow, which also is a very low emotion. So, one thing I've started to do is instead of saying I'm sorry, I will say things like, I apologize for that, or will you forgive me for doing that? All right, because those are a little bit higher ways to respond. So, but again, we'll go along with this scenario. We'll say that again, I leave that discussion and I'm just feeling really bad about myself. I'm feeling down. I'm feeling a little worthless. Well, what I can do at that point, if I want to get rid of those feelings, is I can actually do something physical, as simple as washing my hands to wash myself of those negative emotions that I no longer want to feel. Okay. And so the integration process, or how it would work, is something like this. So for some reason, I was believing some of those things, right? And so first off, I have to release those feelings that I no longer want to feel. Release those emotions that I no longer want to feel. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of explain the process, and then I'll give you kind of some words or ways of thinking about how you might talk yourself through this. So we need to release the things. We need to let go of the things. Now, whenever we release or let go of things, it can create a vacuum, right? Because we're getting rid of something. Something is going to fill that vacuum or that void. And so if I want to replace or transmute some of those other emotions, I need to replace it with something that is of higher value and higher good to myself. Okay. And so I would replace that. And again, I'll kind of walk you through what that might look like. And then I might be doing this at the same time that I'm doing something physical, or I could do the physical act later. But what happens is doing a lot of times these small, simple physical exercises or acts is a way of, in the physical form, kind of completing what we're doing in the emotional or spiritual realm as well. And I know that might not make sense to some of you, but there is great power in being able to do this. And I've been doing this for quite a while, and it works very well for me. So I'm guessing it may work well for you as well. But I'll just kind of explain how that process might work. And you can try it or not try it. It's up to you. But it could go something like this. So, again, if we're back to that example that I shared, right? So I'm leaving this conversation, I'm feeling shameful. Maybe I'm feeling a bit dejected. I'm feeling like I'm not a good person because a good person wouldn't bite somebody. Okay. And so I leave and I decide, you know what? I don't want to feel like this anymore. And you can decide that, right after the event. You can wait a week, you can wait a year, you can wait 50 years. It doesn't matter. It's up to you on when you actually want to address these things. I like to do them as soon as possible, right? Because I don't want to sit in certain emotions or feel psychologically vulnerable any longer than I need to. So I want to work through these things quickly. And so let's say again, I leave the conversation and I'm like, I feel kind of icky. I don't want to feel this way anymore. I'm going to go wash my hands. And so I would go into the bathroom or the kitchen, wherever there happens to be a faucet, and I turn on the water and I start to get the soap and I put the soap on my hands and I say something like this in my head to myself. I release, and again, I'm washing my hands. I'm doing this as I'm thinking this in my head. Okay. And I say to myself, I release the feelings of shamefulness. I release, the feeling of not being enough. I release the feeling of not being a good human, whatever it is that I feel like I need to release. Okay. So I say that as I'm washing my hands. And then I say to myself, I replace those feelings with something else. So I replace those feelings with a gratitude to this person who reminded me of this and helped me to have this positive learning experience. I am grateful for this person for doing that to me. I love this person for showing me the kindness of helping me to see this. Okay, so you see, I'm replacing those negative feelings that I don't want to have, and I'm replacing it with other emotions that serve me better. And what happens is I start to feel lighter. I can feel my vibration going up. I can feel the love. I can feel maybe excitement or other things that are going on. And I'm doing this all as I wash my hands, I rinse them off, I dry them, and I let it be. I leave and I don't have to think about or deal with those things anymore. Now, one of the reasons why I like to do this as soon as possible is those negative emotions, if we do not integrate them, if we do not release them, if we do not replace them with something else, those emotions tend to hide out in our body and cause us dis-ease and get us from a place of well being. Now, dis-ease is very close to the word disease, right? Because again, we know, from an epigenetic standpoint, that a lot of the things in our surroundings actually end up physically affecting our health. In fact, probably the biggest thing in determining whether someone is healthy or not healthy, if they're in a state of well-being or if they're in a state of disease, is their mental attitude and the emotions that they are feeling. Okay. And so the quicker that we can get through them, the less likely things are to end up in our body and cause us aches and pains. In fact, again, you don't have to believe me. You can go do research on the internet. There's a lot of books about this too. But there are certain places in our body too where certain emotions tend to manifest themselves. So if I'm remembering correctly, one of the things that if you have low back pain can be caused by several different things. It could be, you were out working in the garden and you stretched wrong and you pulled your back muscles. It could be that, but more times than not, it is something related to financial pressures, sometimes to relationship issues, especially sexual related relationship issues tend to gravitate there. And so, like I said, there's certain parts of your body where some of these aches and pains just start showing up. And so again, when that happens, you can kind of tune into, well, why am I feeling this way? What is it? Oh, I remember I just had this example this last week. I had this thing this last week that triggered me and brought up some of these old emotions. And that's why I'm probably feeling it in my body. Okay. And so again, there's body scan meditations or the other things like this to kind of help you get into feeling in your body more. But typically, again, so when those things come up, if you ask yourself, well, why am I feeling this way? What's happened the last day or the last week, maybe that has triggered something, right? That I thought I had dealt with. And so again, if we go back to my example with this family member, right? I could have allowed myself to go those places, and I didn't because I've been practicing this. Okay. This is a person who has done this to me my whole life, right? For almost 50 years, I was told about certain experiences and tried to be made to feel small, to be made to feel shameful. And I decided a while ago that I was not going to allow those words to stick. And so, I didn't have to worry about those things ending up in my body because as the person was saying those things to me, I was counteracting that in my head. Okay. So again, they would say these things, and I would kind of in my head cry bullshit in a way like, well, that's not exactly how it happened. Well, that might be what you believe, but that's not what's true. So I was actually saying those things in my head and feeling those things in my body, so I didn't allow those words to stick. And in fact, as part of one of the conversations, I actually kind of stopped and centered myself and expressed a true gratitude and love to this person, which was not accepted by them, right? Because they felt really uncomfortable. They kind of shifted. They didn't really acknowledge what I had said or made some kind of other offhanded comment to take the discussion somewhere else. But I felt it. And the fact that, again, I kind of put up those barriers, I didn't allow those words to stick, and I allowed myself to be in that place of love and gratitude, those things didn't affect me. Now, I'm not telling you this to brag or anything like that because I'm human and this just happened to be a good example, but I've been working on it for 50 years. Okay. But the more that we can do that, the quicker we can recognize these things and actually do something about them, the better off that we are. Okay. And so now, again, you've been listening to me kind of tell this personal story. Let me now share a way that you could use this in maybe your business life as well, right? Because you all have jobs or some sort of a career or own a business. And so again, let's say that you are in a meeting with somebody and this other person, maybe starts throwing some anger at you. Maybe they start questioning your intellect or questioning your integrity. And those are things that can hurt, and they can be triggers for us, and they can take us to some emotional places, often where we don't want to go. So again, during the meeting, right, you can start saying to yourself in your head, because you're not going to want to, say some of these things out loud, but you can release or let go of certain things or do that little bullshit thing in your head, like, oh, you don't think I know what I'm talking about, but I do know what I'm talking about, right? And I do understand this thing, and I just do not agree with you, right? And again, sometimes in the conversation, some of those things may come out. They need to come out in the right way, but at least you can do some things in your head. Now, let's say you don't do that, and you come out of the meeting feeling down, like, oh my gosh, this person questioned my integrity, and now I'm angry at them, and what an asshole, right? That we're thinking. Well, now you're in a place of anger and frustration where you probably don't want to be. And so at that point, guess what? You can go wash your hands, or you can do something physical as you are doing this mentally. And you can say, again, I release the feelings of anger that I have towards this person for questioning my integrity. I release that. I know that I am a person of integrity, right? And there you go. It can be as simple as that. As you're washing your hands, rinse them off, dry your hands, walk out of the restroom, and leave it behind. Leave that anger behind, right? And maybe instead, again, you can say, I know that I have integrity, and I am grateful for this person who triggered me and reminded me what a person of integrity I really am. Right. So again, getting to a place of gratitude or love about the experience instead of being frustrated and allowing yourself to be in anger because of that particular situation. Now, again, this can be used I'm just using human interaction because that tends to be where a lot of this happens in our personal life, in our work life. Um, but I'm guessing that you don't want to be in some of those emotions. And so this is a very simple way of taking care of that. And you can think about it in a way like this too, where as people are throwing things like anger at you, if they're trying to make you feel ashamed, if they're trying to control you, pretend like they're throwing mud at you, or they're like, monkeys in the zoo. That used to always crack me up as a kid. We'd go and watch the monkeys in the zoo, and the monkeys would poop into their hands and then throw it at you, right? As we're sitting there watching them. Well, that's effectively what a lot of people are doing is they're throwing mud, they're throwing poop at you. And so, sometimes as much as we try to dodge it, some of that mud sticks to us. And so, in a way, washing your hands is a way of kind of cleansing yourself energetically to get rid of some of the mud that we pick up throughout the day. In fact, I kind of have a practice, my partner and I, when we go out into the world, we go to the store, we go wherever, we leave our house. The first thing that we do when we come back home is we come in and we wash our hands. And again, it's not because they're all greasy and everything else. Sometimes that might be, if we've been out doing work in the garden or something, maybe our hands are dirty. But more than anything, it's a way again of just, I'm clean. I clean myself of any, energy that I picked up that no longer serves me or that doesn't serve me. I wash that off. I replace it with love, and just kind of do that as a practice of coming in from being outside. Again, you can do it, not do it. It's up to you. It's a simple thing. You can do something else. But I'll also say that there are some very practical reasons for actually washing your hands as well when you go out. there are all kinds of crazy viruses and other things that are going on out in society right now. And one of the easiest ways to protect your health is to wash your hands. Okay, so there's a very practical reason for it too. In fact, we don't carry soap and water in the car, but when we go into different places, and it's not because I'm a germaphobe per se, because a lot of this is more energetic reasons for why I do it, but there's also some practical physical reasons. But I carry rubbing alcohol. We carry rubbing alcohol in our cars. So when I come out of a store or touch, doorknobs and everything else, I just spray a little bit of alcohol on my hand and rub it around. Again, releasing any energy that I might have picked up, but also there's the physical byproduct of I'm not carrying any physical virus or other thing home with me or into my body as well. Okay. And so again, there's a practical side effect to it, but I do it more from an energetic perspective because I'm not a germaphobe. Okay. And so again, there's you can do that, you can do other things, but the main thing is finding some way to integrate the things that you're experiencing, transmute those things into something that serves you better. And so that's why, again, going through and saying some of the things that I was sharing with you today, that transmutes things like shame into love or gratitude. It's changing, right, those shameful energy and emotion into something that's a higher energy or frequency that has a positive impact on you as well. Because again, if we don't do that, then a lot of times those things will end up in our body, showing up as aches and pains or other dis-ease in our life. And the cleaner that we can be energetically, the cleaner that we can be emotionally, the cleaner and healthier our physical bodies will be as well. So, that's what I got for you today. So wash your hands, transmute, integrate some of these things. I know it seems like a very simple thing. It seems so simple and so easy that surely it can't work. But I am serious, and don't call me Shirley, for those of you that know that airplane quote, and just try it out. I mean, what do you have to lose to try it out for a few days or a week and just see how you feel? Because I know for me, this has been one of the biggest things that I have been working on and been able to do in my life. And I know it works because I feel better. And, I have certain people in my life who are like, Jason, I don't know how you do it, but you can like change so quick, like boom, going from different emotional states. And the reason for that is because of this simple practice that I just shared with you, that I do over and over and over again every day, every single day, every week. And it makes a huge difference. Now, sometimes I still wait. I wallow in stuff longer than I should, but the more I place awareness on it, the quicker I'm able to identify it and the quicker I'm able to work through it, which is what my hope is for you as well. So, with that, I'm going to sign off for this week. We'll see you on the next episode. Have a great week. Many blessings to you, to your family, and I just wish you love and peace and well being. I will see you next time.